this will give me a basis. So, good morning. We're here with John Yankee and Jenna Byrne, and for the interview for the CTE 692 class. 600 level class is it's kind of weird.
Yeah.
Right, to see that big number behind those instead of like the hundreds and 200s, right? So this is the purpose of this interview, as I was telling John, is taking a career and technical guidance class as part of my master's program.
Cool.
I'm finding it really interesting because I don't know much about what you guys do. And I think that's something that really needs to be addressed within our school, specifically getting that out to
Literally,
teachers.
I overheard a conversation between Carrie and Karen yesterday saying that same thing of, like, letting the teachers know what we do and what our job is.
Our department needs to spider its way into every, you have tentacles everywhere. Nothing over-dominating, just an outlet, a vein someone can touch and say, oh yeah, here, you need to know. And it's not a...
Right, I feel like the view from the staff is that you guys are just interrupting their process.
Right.
And they need to realize that you're integral to the process.
Right.
Because the whole point is getting these kids through high school and onto some sort of post-secondary path, whatever that pathway may be, college or career or McDonald's. I don't know.
Right.
Right?
There are a few teachers that are definitely on board. I know that for sure because they come to us.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, I've had definitely, that's been great. I have that. And, like, I know that I'm in my bubble because I've never been in the classroom. I have only been in the guidance department, and then my other job was not in the school at all.
We'll give you a class of freshmen.
I'm okay with that being in the classroom, but then, like, having my husband be in the classroom, like, he even said, like, I'm not trying to be offensive, but, like, what do you do? Or, like, because he went to a school that didn't have counselors, and then his high school had, like, then he met with her, like, one time to make sure he had his college applicant or whatever, and that was proceeding. So when I went back for my master's to get this degree, he was kind of like, oh, and then now he's over at the Patch campus, and they don't have counselor there. But then obviously through the years he's seen me, and he was like, oh yeah, this is totally needed and wanted, and
I don't know if you know, but she used to work at
CPS,
which is really valuable. I didn't realize that, but just to know that.
Mitigating factors. That was the word I was trying to think of yesterday.
Okay.
Mitigating factors is what.
That makes sense.
But I worked for 5 years as a case manager.
Well, thank you. I know that's
a lot.
It's another thankless job.
It is
for sure. And it also comes with kind of a negative stigma as well.
It does. Well, and unfortunately,
I can relate to that.
Right? Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna jump right into the questions. I want to be respectful of your time, and I know you guys got things to do today. And again, thank you for coming. I really appreciate it. Mm-hmm. The ultimate goal here, as I was telling John, is at the end of this class, I have to put together this huge packet full of resources that the school provides, and I research on my own and stuff like that. Awesome. This is one of the assignments is to interview a guidance department and just see what their take is on this. Now, the instructor wanted us to do another school. I contacted him and said basically our guidance department is really new. Mm-hmm. Like this year is really the first year it's been fully formed. Yeah. And I thought this would be a great opportunity to kind of evaluate some things that maybe we should be looking at that we're not looking at. Right. That we I didn't know. Some of these questions I'm like, didn't think about that.
Right. Yeah.
Maybe that's something we should look at as a school. So the first question is, what is the school district / institution's procedure for conducting the student placement and follow-up? So how do we get in touch with the students? What's the process of...
As far as, like...
Classes?
So like you said, like you were saying, John, you were saying earlier how you only saw your counselor once, like in high school, to get your college app done.
Once or twice, I think it was honestly for all 4 years.
So we have Jenna, who's the 9th grade, and John who's the 10th grade counselor. So you have a name that comes up. So so what's the process of I'm going to make a connection with this kid, talk to them, find out what their plans are, and guide them in whatever path based off of the information you have.
Every year we meet with them for their ECAPs, the education career.
Well, even before that, though.
But before
my first entry into the classroom is to get to know you, and then they fill out a small form, really easy, and then I meet each one individually for 2 or 3 minutes to talk about what their answers were.
Which was really cool. I want to do that next year. That was really
because
cool.
Then they know me as, I'm not a teacher nor anything. I'm just
right.
Yeah.
And I just be myself and be goofy
and I did go in and I introduced myself and gave some personal, like, not personal, but you know what I mean, like, told a little bit about myself to try to make those connections of, like, this is who I am, this is my family, this is some of my interests, like, reach out to me, I'm here to, support you guys academically and whatever kind of thing. And so put that out there is my first contact. And then we've been going in at least once a month to all of the independent studies classes and addressing some kind of specific subject with that. And then
that leads to, like, career oriented or time management oriented.
Yeah, like I did some stress management, coping skills, organizational skills. John did, like, an email organization.
Yeah, how to keep your inbox clean.
I did how to, like, write an appropriate professional email.
Right, that's so important.
Yeah.
Even though I got an email yesterday, and poor girl, she didn't know, but it was being, like, her email got forwarded just because it to, like, help support her, but the subject was school, but she put 3 O's, and I was like,
school.
Well, yeah. I was like, well, here we go.
Yeah, an email is not a text message. It's more formal. So.
Right, yeah.
Right.
That was in my...
Even in my college, even the master's level classes I'm taking, that's one of the verse assignments for every class I've had, is send me a professional email.
Well, that's good to know, because I did tell them, I said, when you get out of high school, like, I'm like, I know you text your friends and everything, but an email needs to be professional. And and I was like, when you leave high school, it's the way you communicate, to colleges or jobs or anything like that, and you want to be able to come across professionally. And then, like, Karen had a really good YouTube video that, like, had all these edits in it and stuff like that. But yeah.
Did you have Annalise Van Ice?
Yes.
It was hilarious. She would text me these messages, like, about wanting to get in the classroom, and it would be, classroom's locked. Can you come open it up? I'm like, hello, Mr. Yankee. I'm here at school. Just to help her.
Yeah.
And she would just, put an LOL back, but it's just funny.
I've kicked back a few emails, just simply says, try again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we talked about it, because with my students specifically do that exercise as well. I've integrated into my curriculum, like, it's an ATL, like, on the rubric. Send a professional email, and we talk about how to do that. So when I get those, and they always, oh yeah, I got to start with the salutation, have a subject line.
Right, yeah, we said that. Oh yeah, and then, like, put the subject. And I told them, I'm like, if it doesn't have a subject, it goes to the bottom of my list. And then, like, even Miss Hill shared with me. She's like, I get so many emails from students. If they don't put it in the subject line, like, I don't know what you want to address, and that's not gonna make me want to open it faster. Like, I'm just gonna.
Right. It's the other one that says urgent.
Right.
Right. Okay, so you kind of do. So John, you're saying you do a survey. Can you tell me a little more about the survey?
It's an introduction. Like, I call it a get to know me.
Okay.
It was what the forum is called.
Like, you asked them to fill out what questions. It was kind of like
interests, favorite music. I'd have to look at it again, but really, there's
something like worth researching, or something you're interested in.
Yeah. What is something you've done outside of school that's research? I think I'm going to change it, because I think the term research for them says school.
Right.
What do you investigate? Spend time YouTubing. Get rid of the
spend
research.
Your time in. Yeah.
When I've talked to some of them, they were like, "Oh, research." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was too school.
Yeah.
So I'll change that next year.
But then it was cool, because then he went and for each student followed up with them with their answers to that Google form, and, like, just had that personal conversation, like, nothing about school, but just, like.
I wanted specifically to let them know that that's research. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if you to equate having an interest in something, so it's research, so that when they have to do research, they're not like, oh God.
Yeah.
Because they've already done the process.
Yeah.
Right.
And I also, when I do that, I want them to know that I'm not going to catch them on their uniform when I'm in the counselor mode. You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm not going to do those things. I'll notice it, but you're not going to get in trouble for me.
Yeah.
Just so that they're more willing to share stuff that they wouldn't normally share with a teacher. Because I want to know what stuff that's happening. Want them to know that you can say stuff to me that wouldn't necessarily be right to say to a teacher. You can vent, in other words.
Yeah.
You know. And
it's amazing in the few short weeks I've kind of taken on this dean of discipline type of uniform Nazi. It's changed some things relationship with kids. Like they see me coming and they're like tucking their shirt. And it's kind of crazy. So I see the value in that.
Yeah.
So you do a survey, and you said you were doing just kind of just quick meetings, or
I went in and just to all the independent studies classes and put my facts about myself and just said like, hey, this is me. My favorite color is purple. Like, you know, I have 2 kids. You know, if you went to Patch Campus, Mr. Byrne's my husband. You know, kind of making those kind of connections, and then just try to advocate like, here I'm a freshman counselor, and since they're freshmen, like this is new to them of having a counselor.
Right. Yeah.
So I just kind of explain like, I'm here to support you. But a lot of it I need you to reach out and let me know because I can't be everywhere, you know. And then when I've gone in back in, it's just kind of like, hey, I'm here to support you, and I want to try to give you some habits and some tools to help you be successful, and let them know they're not alone when they're like, because a lot of them really started obviously struggling and being stressed out and thinking a lot of them, there's so many things that they're all by themselves. I'm like, your neighbor is stressed out and struggling. You know, and like, so you're not alone, but here are some things to try to help you. I will really, but you know, I can give you the tools. It's up to you to use them kind of thing, but try to be that advocate for them. And I was trying to communicate, because teachers then were great at talking to me, like, I don't hear from the kids, and so even with my email one, I'm like, send them an email. Like, they want communication from you, and you may think, well, they just should know I'm doing bad in their class because I'm failing it, or I'm sorry. But they don't know what your struggles are. They don't know if it's a lack of motivation or if it's a lack of understanding. And so, and like, they want you to communicate with them. And I tried to say, your teachers are also human beings. That's the biggest thing. Because in our job, I always feel like there's teachers and there's students. And like, the teachers need to remember that these students are human beings and they have lives that go on at school and outside of this world. But the students need to realize that these are teachers and they're human beings. And they have lives that go on, you know what I mean? And so, like, there's that mutual respect, but also remembering, hey, you're maybe acting like that because whatever's going on at home. Or that teacher may be having a really off day. Maybe something happened. They didn't sleep much last night because they're a kid, or they were something. You know what I mean? And so, like, that's a lot of my take on it. Is just remembering we're all people and human beings, and we're all here to support each other. Yeah. But we have to remember that and like step back. And I tell them, I'm not good. I'm an adult, and I still struggle with these things. I'm trying to you know, teach and share with you, but that's been my biggest thing, is just kind of putting up. And if I feel like one student kind of came or like reached out to me, and then kind of word gets out like, oh yeah, you can go see Mrs. Byrne, or you know, kind of thing. And so and it did, because like, you know, I was doing the grade checks at the beginning and going in, and so then I felt kind of bad because I'm like, I don't want them to think I'm just coming in for that. But then it helped that I came in then and done like full classroom stuff, and then there's been a few times where I've just kind of come in and like met with somebody or gave them something or whatever. So I'm trying to find that balance. It's hard though too, and there's, you know, and then conferences actually kind of helped, I feel like, because I got to meet with the families and the teachers, and you know, so
that's cool.
Yeah.
So I know in 8th grade they do a career interest survey. How do you utilize that information?
I didn't know they did that, but I just went in. So there's AZCIS. Have you heard of that? So as a freshman, I just went in this last month. I guess.
Does 8th grade do it through AZCIS?
They do not.
That's good though, because it's a different.
Yeah. So Karen put this together a couple of years ago, and this is part of the information I had to show the state for our CTE program certification. Was how are we addressing CTE in junior high, and that's the tool I pointed to.
That's good. I didn't even know they had that.
I don't know if they did it last year, but that's definitely something we need to do this year, and start continuing showing how we're
I'm glad to know that, because none of my freshmen said anything about taking something last year. Not saying that they didn't. Yeah. But I'm glad to hear that they were doing that, because then so in AZCIS as a freshman, I set up their AZCIS account, so that they all have their username and password, and then they took the short version of the career interest survey. Inventory. The career interest inventory. Profiler. Inventory.
That's for you. I think it should be. We have to look at that.
But I do the short version, because then as sophomores, he does the full version with them.
Yeah. Right.
But then after my kids set up their AZCIS account and did the career interest, I had them fill out a Google form and addressing like what was their post-secondary plans workforce, military, 2-year, 4-year, and then looking at the career clusters and like putting option 1 and option 2 of jobs that they're interested in career clusters. And then we also asked first generation information because I was like, that's a new subject to me, which is really interesting to me, and I really like finding that out. But just asking them like, what's the highest education level your parents have? And of course, I wasn't super surprised, but some of them were like, I don't know. And so I just, tried to ask them, do you know what they do for a job? Which some did and some didn't. And then I just always said, well, then at dinner tonight, you can bring that up. And if your parents are asking, why do you want to know? I'm like, you can blame it on me. Say, Mrs. Byrne was just wondering. And I'm like, I'm not trying to be nosy, but it's good information. And Karen was even saying, like, ask your parents, like, are you happy with the level of education you got? Because some of them are like, well, I was born, and so my mom dropped out of college. Or, I don't think they got high school, but she went back. I'm like, a GED, kind of thing, and just asking them, are you happy in your job? And just kind of learning from those life experiences.
So you use AZCIS. By the way, I took that inventory. Did I tell you about this, John? I think I might have told you. I took it as part of the class because we had to go research it and look at it. So I actually took it myself and pretending I was a student to see what kind of... I'm like, I wonder where this would place me. Right. It did place me in education.
It did?
It did place me in education. But it placed me as a dance teacher.
Did you tell Tabitha?
Yeah. I immediately texted her. I'm like, can you imagine me dancing around her room? It was just hilarious.
Was it through AZCIS?
It was. Yes, it was.
Funny. You did the career cluster or the interest profile?
I think I did the interest profile.
Okay. Funny. I'll have to do that because I can't remember.
Karen did it, I know, because she did it and posted results for her when she went to the classroom just to kind of show them. Because she was like, is it completely accurate? No, but can it be helpful? Yes.
Yeah, it did place me in education,
right?
Which is, I thought in an art,
right?
So it's pretty close to the mark.
And that's why I said and guys answer it. Like I was like, I said, please try not to answer not sure for a majority of them. I was like, there's some that you might not be sure about, but try to at least like or dislike, the different questions.
The difference is that's a performing art, and I'm a visual art teacher. So I think that's the difference, really.
Right.
So it didn't really differentiate that, but that's pretty. That's pretty close.
That is good, yeah.
So you still feel free to use that picture of Mr. Byrne dancing around on TikTok or something.
That's hilarious.
With your kids. So how do you do those interest surveys? How do you use that? How are the results of the follow-up used?
So that literally yesterday we used those to categorize for our ECAT meetings. There's so many now that we can't do one-on-one for a majority of them. If the family wants to come in, we'll meet one-on-one. But so we grouped them into small groups and by their career cluster results. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like all the human sciences, well, not all, but you know what I mean? We looked at them, and then I looked at their career choice that they put. And basically grouped them so that we can all discuss. And again, I always told them, nothing is set in stone. This is just to get some ideas going. But that helped us group them and kind of get those conversations moving.
Yeah. So. Cool. That was an easy one.
Okay, so I thought it was a voicemail, so I was like, oh gosh.
You can take it if you want.
Oh, no. I didn't recognize it. I just thought, because the girls have a doctor's appointment later this morning, and so I was like, would it be them? But I'm like, that's not their number. So they did.
So we're going to shift gears a little bit. We talk a little bit about gender and stereotypes and things like that. So what are the results of student counts by gender in the placement and follow-up from the most recent report?
We haven't done anything.
I was just going to say, I'm not familiar with anything that we've done to address gender placements. And
I think a gender replacement, I think they do it when they schedule when they put classes together.
Do they?
But there's nothing we've done.
Right, as a guidance program, I can't think of.
Nothing, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I didn't even ask that as a question on any of my forms now that I think about it. Yeah. I had them write their names, but I didn't write the gender.
So it says, is this significant? Does an alarm or please you? So I'd probably place on the alarm because this is something maybe we should look at, right?
Because I know that they look at it for discipline data and things like that. But we haven't, unless Karen has some kind of. But it would be good to know, even as far as post-secondary plans and graduation.
But even Karen, we haven't talked about it.
We haven't.
I think what the professor's trying to get to here is that he's wondering if departments are pigeonholing kids into certain paths based upon gender.
Okay.
I think that...
Like you're a female, so you have to go into these...
Right, take this nursing, I can't talk, nursing path.
I know we're not, I know I'm not doing that because it's whoever comes to me with whatever they are. Doesn't matter.
Right.
You know what I mean? There's no suggestions that, I doubt if Karen's making suggestions based on that.
Right.
Yeah, that's the closest we come.
Right. I feel like our community is just kind of open to, that's your thing, cool.
Right.
You know, that's, I feel like this is a pretty safe place for that.
Mm-hmm.
There were a lot of conversations that my seniors in my upper level arts class had that went around that I would just kind of key an ear into it, and none of them seemed to care. It didn't matter. They would talk about it in between other stuff, but they weren't angry or hurt. You know what I mean? Because
Mrs. Hurley actually said something yesterday that I think kind of encapsulates our society. Is her son asked, he's in 6th grade, asked if he can get his ears pierced, and she said no. That was her snap reaction was no, right? And then she said, well, if I had a daughter who was in 6th grade, would I let her get her ears pierced? Yeah. She's like, well, yeah, probably. So why wouldn't I let my son if that's what he wants to do?
Right.
And it kind of, I think it depends on...
I didn't realize that was the cool thing to do for boys.
I think he was just curious. She said he was just curious, but it was kind of like that moment of
no, that's good,
identifying our biases, right? You know, because when I grew up, my older brother came home with an earring, and my dad walked up and he said, "Nice earring," and he reached out and he snatched it out of his ear and ripped his earlobe. Yeah.
He had it in the left one, right? Because the saying was left is right and right is wrong back when.
Right. But he had this little hoop thing on, and he walks up and just...
How old was your brother when you did it?
He was 17.
Oh, so technically not.
But that conversation has been had many times about our house. As long as you live under our roof, these are the rules, and that was one of the rules. He was not allowed to have a piercing, so he got stitches and... So he took him to the emergency room. Just nowadays, you go to jail for that, right?
All that just hurts to think of it.
Yes.
Different time, different...
Right.
Different...
But just think of that saying, left is right and right is wrong, because right would mean you're gay.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's only 30 years ago when I saw a boy with two, and that saying went in my head. So it was in there at that time. And now I don't think they care, which I think is not a bad... thing to not worry about that, because it shouldn't be.
Well, now you don't usually just see one earring either. It's usually two.
Yeah. Now I do have a professor who has an ear, one in the left ear, which I thought was kind of funny, because it's totally just from his generation. Like, he's probably in his late 50s, early 60s, and that was
he would have
those late 70s, early 80s kind of. Yep. When he was in high school, I can imagine.
He's like, I'm still rocking. Even though, granted, I'm still rocking my cartilage piercing from my college years.
Right, right.
So yeah, no, that's something to definitely look into, though, the gender.
So what impact has gender balancing had on achievement and placements in CT-related programs? So I guess that's a question. As a guidance department, do you feel like we're kind of pigeonholing kids into certain career paths?
I don't feel like we have. I can't say that we've done anything to regulate that or to check or to ensure that we're not. But again, I've never even thought a meeting with a male student and being like, oh wow, and he's talking about wanting to go into theater or dance or whatever, and I haven't been like, no, you can't. And, I haven't had those thoughts. Right. At all, and Karen, I hear some of her conversations. She's met with the juniors and seniors, and I've never heard her. The only reason she has told the student that they probably couldn't go that route was because of grades or something. And again, it's not like she said they can't go that route. It's just okay. Well, we can get there, but it's going to be a different path because of the grades and
the decisions you made here.
Academics, not because of the gender you are.
You're not getting into Harvard with those grades.
Yeah,
right.
Sorry. It doesn't matter if you're a boy or a girl. Those grades aren't going to get you there.
So a follow-up question to this is how do you track post-secondary placement?
That would be for me is a question for Karen. I know that I heard her and Carrie and Becky or somebody, they were talking with Karen about that, like that they wanted to do a better job of following up with, because now we have more and more graduating classes, tracking that post-secondary, like graduation rate and placement, and then continuing on, because now I think we have some that should be graduating college, right? I think.
Yep.
Yes.
So following up with that class, and because I know that they were a little smaller too, so it's almost somewhat easier, but not. But I don't know how.
But we didn't. Yeah, and then Karen, Brian, and I had this conversation last year too, and Brian was like, we just didn't do a very good job of specifically keeping in touch with those. Who's on camera?
Well, my room's on camera.
Oh.
The student just showed up to work on a project.
Oh, gotcha.
I didn't know when he was coming, so
he's here.
Ken's like, should I let him in? I'm like, let him in. Just remind him, I'm watching you.
Right. Alrighty.
I know we're getting close to meeting time, so I'll try to get through these as quickly as possible. So we are on the verge of having our first CTE program. The only thing we're waiting on is Mrs. Ajama needs to get her teaching certification in emerging technologies, which she qualifies for. She's going through the paperwork process right now.
Okay.
So as soon as we get that done, I send that off to the state, and we will have our first official CTE program in digital photography.
Cool.
So
that's awesome.
we essentially have it now. So this question, just kind of use that as the context of what we're talking about. So please comment on the number of student services that are available to CTE students in your school district / institution that you believe have an impact on increasing the quality of the programs and student achievement.
So is that including would be just the photography one?
Just digital photography at this time. We do have 5 other classes that we've identified that as potential CTE programs. They are CTE classes.
Okay.
They just need, it's a paperwork thing and an alignment thing with state standards.
Okay.
So you have to have so many. So like for digital photography, you have to show 2-year coherent sequence.
Okay.
And for some of the other ones are just 1 year. So for example, criminal justice would be 2 classes, 2 different semesters.
Okay.
Which we currently have, but are they aligning to state standards and are they complementing each other?
What are our classes that we have?
We have criminal justice, and then we also have forensics.
Forensics. Okay, I didn't realize
we have a criminal justice class, right? Mrs. Schmidt teaches it.
Oh, that's what. Yeah. Okay.
I'm not sure if that's exactly.
I know it's hard because I'm in my freshman world, but I've heard of some of these classes, and I'm like, well, that's cool. But yeah, I know the criminal justice. I've heard of that one. So, but yeah, that's cool.
And so getting those 2 curriculums aligned that would be another one. It's also based off numbers too. So the way we make money off this is through federal funding through the Perkins grant. So by having this first CT program, where I'm really pushing Mrs. Ajama to get that done, is because in January we can apply for Perkins funding. So so the next fall.
Okay.
We'll get, hopefully, cross our fingers, knock on wood, pray, whatever. That we'll have some federal funding.
Okay.
It doesn't matter if we have 1 CTE program or 10, the funding is the same.
Okay.
So that's kind of good for us as we're a new program, right? We'll be able to really focus that money to the digital photography stuff. And then once we have that official CTE program, that's when we open the conversation with Westmec about joining their CTED district.
Okay.
CTE district.
That'd be awesome.
Does Westmec require us to have several classes?
Nope, just the one. Just the one. And it's just having that CTE designation as a school, right? Because what that does, we're already sending kids there, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
We have quite a few kids that go there, actually. We should be getting paid for those kids from them. We're not. Because we're not an official CTE school.
Gotcha. So they're just getting all the money for our kids there.
So we still get our ADM from the state, but then we'll also get a 25% kickback from Westmec for those kids.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, and that makes more sense too why Carrie and Becky have been like, we have to be careful because we want our kids to go to Westmec, but then we don't get money for their seats that's why it's just the elective kind of thing.
Right. So that's why it's important because we'll retain that ADM,
Gotcha.
also get a bonus. And so that'd be huge for our school.
I was gonna say that's huge for our school here, like just to be able to promote that we have that CT on campus and
Westmec's right there.
It is.
It's
oh my gosh,
right there.
And I'll be honest, this year I've learned so much more about it, and I, like Karen likes to say, I've drank the Westmec Kool-Aid. It's amazing. Like, I wish I could go. The opportunities there. I went to the open house on Tuesday night. Mm-hmm. Dang, it's cool. It's great. So
comment on the number of student services. that are available to CTE students.
So is it the one? Is that what we're talking about?
That's it, yeah. So
the one. So at least that's growth, at least.
Right.
And hopefully plans for more.
So based on the digital photography program, what you guys have seen, because a lot of them are freshmen, sophomores who are taking those classes. Do you believe that class has an impact on increasing the quality of the program and student achievement? Have you seen anything?
Well, from hearing from Ajma, like what they're doing in there, I do. I feel like they're like. I don't know much about photography, but there's something they get to use. And then she was saying how like each student gets a Adobe or something like that.
Adobe license, yep.
I think the biggest thing is getting the students to understand that quality, and then I think that's coming. A lot of it's just kind of communicated. They don't realize, like.
Guys, I think you need to. I'm having the same thing I had on Monday.
Yeah.
Dizzy, can't sit still.
Okay.
You know, but I'm not losing functions. I just have that shaky, weird.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you eat?
I had an egg. But the problem is I had a shot of tequila with a beer last night, which I hadn't had since Sunday. So obviously something's happening with that.
I'm here with Karen Smith, the head of the guidance department for the Odyssey Institute, and we are doing part 2 of the interview. So this is for a class, and so these first 5 questions were the teacher prompts, and then I had to come up with 5 questions on my own.
Okay.
So
and this is all related to CTE.
Yep.
Okay.
So we kind of were touching on like number 4 was what impact has gender balance had on achievement and placement levels in CTE related programs. And basically I think what the instructor was getting at there was are we as a school and as a guidance department pigeonholing kids into career paths just because of their gender? And John and Jenna were like, absolutely not. Like they just it hadn't even like occurred to them like as that was an issue. And I feel like as a community we're pretty open about like that sort of stuff. So it's like I think the world's changing in that regard in a lot of ways.
I don't know if it's that. I don't know if it's changing. No, because I've got a husband who's in nursing, a female-dominated profession.
No, that's what I'm saying though. Is like the world's more open to that idea and not as much as.
Oh no, no.
No.
He's the male nurse, so why didn't you go on for more education? Why aren't you a doctor?
Oh.
But I think as a department, I don't know that it's there's definitely shifts in people who are more open to it, but I definitely feel like there's still strong stereotypes in it. Even a couple of seniors had come in and we were talking about what their plans were, and one said that he wanted to be a dental hygienist, and I was so surprised. Not because I think that it's a bad career for him, but because for a high school boy to say that, it's not a typical response for them, right?
Right.
But I was really excited because it's such a fantastic career, right? For males or females, right? And then same thing, I had somebody who wants to, he's really into fashion, right? And he wants to buy and sell merchandise within the fashion world, right? But the way he approached it was more in a way that you would hear more females, right? So I think our culture, our school is open to ideas. I think our culture here is kind of unique.
Yeah.
And I think as a department, we're pushing kids to whatever their interest is. That it's not. It doesn't matter what the gender roles are.
So I took the career interest survey. Just as I wanted to see where it would place me, and it was interesting because it's kind of funny because it placed me as a dance teacher. But and that's very comical up front, picturing me dancing, right? But if you look at how it was really close to the mark. It had me in education. It had me teaching arts as a teacher. Had me had me teaching arts. The only difference was that's performing arts versus teaching visual arts. So it was. That's pretty close. There's a pretty thin line there, which I thought was pretty good. And then Mrs. T took it yesterday because her son wants to stop doing cheer and do something else, and he's just not quite sure where to go next. So I suggested that, And she took it just to kind of see where it put her, and it was pretty close too. Yeah. So neither one was like right on the money, but they were close to kind of give you some direction. I thought that was like, that's pretty cool.
I like those career interest inventories for that, but I also think that sometimes it's good for helping you understand your personality traits.
Right.
And there's another part of those career interest inventories that are like that with the Holland score. But like you get a lot of people who want to go into healthcare or law enforcement, not so much teaching, but it's because they have personalities who want to help. Right? They want to work with people and help people, and it's helping them figure out, like, maybe they aren't interested in a certain area, but why did it pull that? Probably because you're answering questions where you want to help people.
Right.
And you've got an outlier maybe that you mentioned, something with like related to caring for somebody in a health area. And so it pulled that one. But what it really was pulling was the your ability to want to help people.
So originally for this assignment, I'm supposed to do one outside of my school, outside of my community. But I explained to my professor that our guidance department is pretty new, like to have a fully formed department. Like this is our second year.
With more than just me, Brian.
Right. So, like I said, I think there's some things that we could really benefit from looking at, from the outside view kind of thing.
Oh yeah.
And just kind of see if there's anything else we can address. So it has me looking at like the mission statement and things like that. So I'll go to the next question here. So we kind of got halfway through 5 when John wasn't feeling too good on Friday.
Okay.
Yeah. So we were talking about the number of student services that are available to CTE students, and really the only CTE program we technically have is digital photography, which is so close. Mrs. Agema just got her paperwork, and so on Friday she's going down to apply for her certificate.
Excellent.
And as soon as we have that, we are good to go.
That's great.
So it's super exciting. So digital photography is our only official CTE program. So we'll kind of keep that within the context. We do have something like 225 kids enrolled in the...
You're not including Westmac and CTE students?
Well, I guess we could.
I mean, they are career and technical.
Right.
I mean, they're not within us, but we are facilitating access.
And that's one of the really big things is once we get that CTE designation, we're going to be able to join Westmac as part of their CTED, their CTE Career and Technical Education District.
Okay.
Which is additional funding avenue for us.
That's good.
Because right now we send kids to Westmac, and it's my understanding we're not getting paid for that. Where as soon as we join the CTED, we'll keep our ADM for that kid plus get a 25% kicker for it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So that's...
We've gotten a lot of families who are interested. With the population that we serve in Buckeye, right, there are a lot of the CTE programs that are that population loves.
Right.
And I know a couple of years ago when I first started, that was a hot topic, and I know several of the 9th grade families left after 9th grade because although they were fine with Odyssey, not having the flexibility or as much flexibility with our program requirements for the diploma and the scheduling at Westmac, they just chose to go somewhere else. So, yeah.
And it's so convenient. I mean, it's right there.
Yeah, it is.
And Yonkers has kind of the same thing, but like I don't know to what level they're taking advantage of that, but it seems like it'd be such a great marriage, in a lot of ways. So the number of student services that are available to CTE students in your school or district that you believe have an impact on increasing the quality of the program and student achievement. That's kind of a wordy question.
Well, student services is more than just, okay, so one student service we have is we do allow students to take foreign language online. I don't know that so much falls under student services, but it does fall under making services available. And I know that I think Carrie really pushed for that, because I don't feel like our board was originally, from my understanding, I've not been here, but for a few years, but the board was very oppositional toward that.
Is the online or just
the CTE?
Yeah.
That our mission, the Odyssey mission, was to prepare people for college, and the feeling was that Westmac was maybe not fulfilling what the Odyssey mission was.
Right.
But I think that's changed.
It really has. Like it's a perception issue where most people hear CTE and they instantly think vocational education from 20 years ago, 30 years ago, when it was just welding, home ec, and wood shop and shop, right? Where it's now today it's still those things, but it's so much more. It's all, it's all the technical stuff. It's 21st century skills, essentially. And research is showing that it's for everybody. Like it's beneficial for every kid. Even the kid on the college path is still a good path for them, because they're walking out with a skill that they can.
Well, not just a skill, but there's critical thinking that's not done in the traditional classroom.
Right.
There is application of material that, so they've got this section at Westmac where you've got to do the book learning, but then you go into the labs and you've got application of that. There is the understanding that someone who completes a certificate, I know I went to a panel of people who were looking for certified employees. Honeywell was one of them, and their big thing was that you can complete a certificate and already have one, even if it's not in the area we're looking for, we're willing to take you on board because we understand that you have the skills necessary to complete a rigorous track. And those skills are transferable, right? Whether you're transferring them into the work world or you're transferring them into further education on the college level. Right. There's some discipline and time management, organization, all those skills that follow
through, which is huge nowadays.
Student services, we're actively trying to connect the ECAP meeting to diploma tracks. The messaging.
I found this on the web.
Thank you, Siri.
It's so weird that something picks up on certain words.
Whenever I say Gary's name, it picks it. When we're sitting down and we're talking about, like, these are the classes, right? So freshman and sophomore have a very prescribed curriculum. By the time you get to junior, senior year, there are different things that you can put into your diploma to maximize your options.
Right.
You can just continue to take classes with us and graduate with your diploma, or you can add things in for whatever your next goal is.
Right.
Right. If you're thinking that you'd like to go into engineering, right, but you don't want to do like something at Westmac, then we need to steer you toward Math HL, because that's the type of math that you need, right? You can do IB, you can do the DP program, you can take classes through Westmac, right? You can take classes through ASU Digital Prep. So you've got options with what you want to do, and it's catering your education toward that, and us trying to supply them, well, these are your options, let's cater your diploma. You got to graduate with these credits anyways, but let's cater them toward your specific goals, which I think is really what the ECAP is meant to do.
And I think ECAP is like a good start. Like, I feel like education needs to shift, because we're kind of been in this manufacturing mindset for so long, but the economy's changed and the world has changed, where it's more of a knowledge-based economy now. And I really like what the math department's doing with the IXL. It's very individualized, so that's per student. So they're hitting the topics and things they need to do to progress within that program. Where in the past it was just kind of like to the audience, right? I'm just making sure I'm not double booked.
Okay.
No, we're good.
You're good. Okay.
I was like, oh crap! I was supposed to cover Paige's class. But it's tomorrow. I was like, just want to make sure. Where's Byrne?
We're also offering things like, for the department, we're also offering tests like the ASVAB, which are important to even those who aren't thinking military, because because of the number of tests that they've got.
Right.
Even though it's not a normed test, there's enough data there that you can pull reliable results from. I like the ASIS Career Interest Inventory because it gives you a baseline, just like some ideas, but taking something more in depth with more data behind it, like ASVAB, I think is important for helping kids explore their careers and connecting actual IQ scores with ability, because we get so many kids who have very high aspirations, which are great, but thus far their performance has not shown that they have either the intellectual capability to perform in those areas, or they've not developed the discipline yet to be
so
in those types of careers.
What do you tell that kid that says, I want to be an astronaut, but yet just isn't performing in the classroom?
You have to be very careful, right? Because you don't want to crush someone's expectations, right? Because sometimes it's the setting that they're in, that they're not performing well. But if you get them into paths where there's actual desire to learn, they might perform well. But if someone were to say, I want to be an astronaut, and their algebra grades are not great, I would say, hey, you know that this is going to require a lot of math and science skills. Tell me about algebra and how you feel about your ability to do algebra. Why aren't you in? I might ask questions like, why aren't you in calculus?
Right.
Because then that hopefully gets them thinking, that they need to do, X and X, and I can't just have this dream without putting things in place for it.
Yeah.
I have run into parents and former students through like teaching and then transitioning into counseling, where families have been like, my counselor like totally said I wasn't capable of doing this and I wouldn't make it, and then they're fine. So there is a balance with trying to show them these are the skills that and the knowledge that these people need, versus saying you can't do it.
Right. Yeah, it's a tough one. And that's actually from real life. Like, I had a student tell me that, and I was immediately like, look, I could see his grades and struggling every class. And I was like,
yeah. And then sometimes it's like, what do you think it takes to become an astronaut?
Right. So that's a conversation I had with him. And, I said, you got to become a pilot first. So what skills do you need to become a pilot? Like, and I don't really think about that.
And the more that we can like bring in outside people with careers to talk to the kids about how they got on that track and what they're actually doing, I think it's important to educating students.
There's that Maricopa County app I was telling you about, where it's almost like a dating app for teachers, in the sense that it tries to marry subject teachers with people in the industry.
No, that you told me about this.
Okay, so Maricopa County, and they told me about a year ago, at the end of the year last year, and I haven't followed up on it, because at that point it was still in development, so I don't know how much further they got with it. But basically that's what it is. It's to mesh teachers with industry professionals, and they either can come and talk to the class, or they can Skype in. But it's a STEM related thing. It's part of that STEM Resource Center.
Yeah.
I have a contact down there. I'll get you their information.
That's one of the goals that I asked John and Jenna that I felt like was important to the department, is to bring in this year, as it's just to bring in one outside speaker. So hopefully we're all working on locating somebody who can come in and talk to the kids in a specific area. So like my goal is I want to reach out to this company that is in Phoenix, who helps people redo their LinkedIn and resumes, profile pictures, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So because LinkedIn it's really the place where like recruiters and things go to headhunt.
Right.
And understanding what you need to put into place on your LinkedIn profile and understanding like algorithms. And that sometimes you need to get a little bit of help with that because they understand the algorithms. You can have a great resume, but if you aren't using the words that the algorithm is looking for, you are not being found.
Right. If you don't fill in that description section very well, like that's kind of like on YouTube with the meta tags.
Yeah. And you get it, and it's not, most people, that's not their wheelhouse, right?
Right.
So you go to somebody who it is their wheelhouse.
Yeah.
So that's another student service that we're trying to do is make sure that we try to bring in outside speakers that are relative to the content and the ideas.
Cool. Okay, so I'll move on. So I want to be respectful of your time. Some districts have a member of the guidance department whose job is solely dedicated to career guidance. Do you ever feel that Odyssey will have the need for someone in that position?
Oh yeah, I mean, if there was somebody who could just push career guidance, even if it was somebody who was part-time, but that was their sole goal, was to do that. I think often it's finding buy-in within the school and buy-in within the kids. Kids don't understand what the opportunities are. Like you might pull in a speaker during lunch and then you don't get anybody to sign up for it, because rightly, we have a long day and,
that's their only 20
it's
minutes.
Their time to decompress and hang with their friends. But yeah, after school doesn't work. Teachers don't want to give up class time. And evenings, right, they're all involved in sports or extracurriculars, and they're not coming back to campus.
Right.
So you battle against, just normal barriers, and trying to get something like that going. So although I think that it could definitely be beneficial, I think it's a hard job to get. I mean, intellectually, everybody knows it's a good thing. Yeah. But to really get them to buy in to it, I think is a harder task because you're constantly out there recruiting, and that's not always everybody's skill set.
Right.
Like they might be able to organize things and pull in people, but the marketing yourself to promote your skill. Yeah. Sometimes you got a skill set with the organization and you know what needs to be done and put together, but actually getting the buy-in from the other parties, that takes you going out and sell yourself. And not everybody's a salesman or even appreciates that you have to do that.
Right.
So
we had a guy come in and speak to the film class, and this whole time I was thinking, good-looking guy, amazing resume, horrible speaker. And I was like, these kids are so just not engaged with you right now. And I was like, that's so unfortunate because his program sounded amazing, but he just was so monotone and boring, and the kids were totally checked out. And I was like, I feel bad for you. Like, I feel bad for the guy. Like, he just didn't realize that, it's not in his wheelhouse to present, which is unfortunate. So what are some of the goals of the Odyssey Guidance Department?
So I probably need to grab my computer for that one because I'm...
Okay.
So one of them was the one I just told you.
To bring in more speakers?
Yes. Increased parent participation in ECAT meetings is one of them. The ECAT meetings are so much more productive when you've got parents there. Because they understand what the conversations have been at home. And let me see. And can make those connections that sometimes you can't as a counselor. Just because there's so many kids and I should have our goals right offhand. I know those two. Give me a minute. I've got the right folder. I just have to find the right meeting notes. So how can we communicate more on grade interpretation? Because we're an IB school, that often is confusing, even for our families who are coming from the middle school, and it shouldn't be, but it is. It is on our website now, where it wasn't before. I have the one where scheduling community members into the classroom. I would like to do, and I don't know that it's necessarily a goal for this year, but doing small groups.
So.
Just like if I had wanted this semester to do a small group for the seniors who are first gen kids.
Okay.
Right. That just didn't happen. Right. So, but hopefully this next spring I'll do one for the juniors who are rising seniors.
Right.
Or just like if we've got a need for kids who are struggling because they are time management or organization. Finding kids who are interested, teachers who identify students, and running small groups that way. You could do the same thing with, people who are interested in different types of careers. You could do like a 3 or 4 week exploration of type of careers if your students were interested in it. Because that's not something that we currently do, but I would like to. Better communication with families, both positive and negative, because we sometimes tend to just do negative. We do now have our social media page. Woo woo! Have you followed it?
I have not followed it.
Come on, man, you're killing me.
I will do so right now.
John! Did you hear him? I didn't either. For shame, man. For shame. We did push out an aligned curriculum this year to help with communication and coordination within grade levels. Like, this is what the 9th grade does, and because the 9th grade does it and what the sophomore needs are, then sophomores pick up.
So the continuum?
Yes, so it's aligned better.
And it's so hard. I mean, it really is. Like, that's...
Back to student services.
Yeah.
John and Jenna are doing the program with Westmec. I don't know what the program is called, but it's for helping them understand what Westmec has to offer in CTE education. And then they're coming back and serving as the ambassadors, for that.
Cool.
So all things Westmec, John is doing. As the sophomore counselor, it just kind of makes sense.
Right, because that junior years when they step into that, so let's get ready this year.
And so sophomores, they've got to be moving toward that.
Right.
All right, what else?
Okay, so the mission statement says, so I looked at the mission statement, the mission of the Odyssey Institute of Advanced International Studies High School is to create an environment of professionalism and academic excellence to maximize personal academic achievement, growth, and discovery beyond test scores while empowering dreams and leadership within their community. Do you feel that this mission statement aligns with those goals?
I think that in order to have academic achievement, you've got to have parental participation. It's key, right? The professionalism comes with using social media platforms, and the newsletter, right? Having aligned curriculum versus each of us doing our own thing. Academic excellence, that I don't think I mentioned, so we do those grade checks, and to push kids understanding what's going on in the classroom, or how, what did I say? I lost my train of thought.
You do great checks to kind of make sure they're on task.
Yeah, keep on track, but also understanding that, Jenna goes in and talks about to the freshmen about the impact of their GPA their freshman year, and because without that good freshman year, right, both semesters you might flub one semester, but all the other 5 semesters have to be strong. And if you come out of your freshman year with a low GPA, and there's not really any coming back from that.
Yeah, right.
And just that early education for that. You can clearly see that some of this is taking from the Odyssey mission statement, is that we try to connect, what we're school, our focus is academics, right? And training them for their next steps, right? So, and because of our partnership with IB, the community is a big part of making sure that kids are involved in that. Yeah. Right. So.
Yeah, when I saw this, I immediately recognized that was from the core values. Yep. Like the core values is kind of synthesized into a mission statement. Do you feel like there needs to be anything about the career stuff in there, career, or college, or pathways, or clusters, or anything like that?
Well, I don't know. It's not that I'm opposed to it, but how do you put it in there in a way that works with the mission of the school? Because the academic achievement is not that everyone's going to need that English. Well, I don't know. They do need that English class for other reasons. But the academic part of it, whatever career you're going into, you need components of that. Like there probably is something, like I think that maybe communication skills, like those soft skills in communication, could probably be added in there. It doesn't matter if you're heading toward career, or if you're heading toward college, those soft skills of communication, right? Time management. So in that area, so like those executive functioning skills, which is really what they are, that probably could be worded in there somehow. But I think that the academic goal is part of the career goal. I think it could be added in there, most definitely.
I'm only at because I have to. I put this question here intentionally because I have to compare and contrast the school's mission statement with the guidance department's mission statement, and they're so similar. It's really hard to compare and contrast. Other than that, they're very similar. So I was just digging a little deeper, so I have more to write about.
I tried to. You gotta think about ASCA. I know our school doesn't really talk about that a lot, but within the school counseling world, ASCA is a very big deal.
And what is that?
And it's the American Association for School Counselors, or American School Counselors Association.
Okay.
And they have a 3-tiered approach of now that I'm talking about it, is of academics, social, and what's the other one? Academic. I can email you and tell you.
I'll look it up.
But there's a 3-tier approach that you're looking at the child holistically.
Yeah.
And that if you can get all 3 of those pieces to work together, then you are creating a more holistic child, right? Who's better prepared. Academics, social, emotional, and I don't know. ASCA does have quite a bit of stuff that counselors are supposed to be doing for career. And I will say that this school is very unique in its school counseling department, because John and Jen and I don't have anything to do with scheduling.
Right.
A large majority of and though we participate in testing, So it does allow us to do a lot more than other schools might be able to do. But on the flip side, we're small.
Yeah.
And to really do programs, it takes time, and there's just a lot of kids.
Right.
It takes, to really do well, there's a lot of individual interactions that need to occur.
I remember my high school, 2000. When we had, I remember only being 3 people in the guidance department, and I can't imagine that workload. Like, granted, it's been a few years, and that's before technology was really what it is now. Like, I remember I walked in, there was a book, right, of scholarships, and the lady sat me down and said, "What do you want to do when you graduate?" And I said, "I have no idea. Go to college." But, "Oh, great, start looking through this book." That was the whole spiel. I took the ASVAB. In case we wanted to do the military route, that was.
Now, see, I pushed ASVAB for non-military people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, everyone took it too.
Yeah.
Like everyone in our class took it, and it was kind of see what are you good at. So that was kind of the early interest survey, I guess. Their way of checking off that box. So they made every student take it. I actually did really well on that.
Good.
I was surprised. I was not a very good student. I did rather well on that, which surprised my parents, I think.
How do you feel that you use the most, or what resources do you feel like?
Yeah, so what students do you feel that you use the most to guide students?
For career placement.
For career placement, yes.
I really love the Department of Labor's website. Department of Bureau. Let me see if I can find it really quick. Let's see. I think that's how I got it in there. So rid of this file. One of these files. There's career, military, and college in my folders here. The occupational handbook. That's what I'm trying to say. That is a lot for my seniors. I am pushing them toward that. I know when I did the freshmen last year, I know I mentioned it to some of them to look in the occupational career handbook. But you can look. So say your main focus. You're talking to a kid and all they want to do is make money, but they've got no goals whatsoever. Okay, well let's look up. All right, what do you think that you need? All right, in order to live, how you want to live. And so you can categorize job searches based on how much money you want to make. Or some people, they know they need a job and they might need some education, but they want the least amount of education. They don't want to go on. All right. So you can categorize by the amount of education that you've got. Right. Or you can look at career clusters. So there's multiple ways to look at it, and it lets them know is this a growing field? Is it a declining field? And then it connects how much education you need. You can connect it to careers that are similar. So there's a lot of data there if a student really wants to take the time to go through it.
Yeah.
We also use the ASIS for the freshmen.
Yep.
And the sophomores are using it. As far as career-based stuff goes. There's some other things that we do. I really am a proponent of Goodwill for students.
What is that?
The Goodwill's mission is to put people to work.
Okay.
So they have programs that you can go apply to where they will get you entry-level skills to get into an industry, and you have to apply. They don't take everybody. You've got to have the commitment factor.
Right.
But once you're in the program, say you're doing well, there's monetary incentives to continue the program. If you do well within the program for the certification, they may offer to get you certified in something else.
Yeah.
Right. So they're base level jobs within industries that you need certificates for, but they're helping you make the connection with who it is, getting you into the program, and then offering monetary incentives to do well within the program.
That's awesome.
Not huge monetary incentives, but for a high school student who has no idea what they want to do, but has the initiative to follow through for a few weeks to complete a certificate, it's a great opportunity to either get a skill that can help you or to explore options. So I really like that. I also let them know like what's the AZ at work. So if you are looking for a job, these are places, local resources that you can go to help you with job placement, resumes, interview skills. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that. I mean, Goodwill has kind of a bad rap for other things, but I didn't know they did that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
I drank their Kool-Aid when I did a site visit.
Yeah.
For them. Yeah. Their business model is kind of cool, like behind the scenes and how they're making money, and then they're business, so I'm sure that not all the profits go back into helping the community, but they do have really good services.
That's cool
for helping them.
So, what is your personal opinion of the AZCIS and the ECAP?
I actually think that there's some good resources in AZCIS. There's some good lesson plans. I think that the platform can be organized better. It is just a free-for-all of information for teachers or counselors to try to organize. Because, like I said, the lesson plans are good, but finding them and organizing them in a manner that is grade level alignment is a nightmare.
Right.
So that could be improved. They could categorize lesson plans. They could maybe even categorize it around year groups, so that was easier to navigate. Because I'll be honest, you can spend time and you can find a bazillion things that are great, but then you're like lost as to how to pull it all together into a cohesive plan. Yeah.
I feel because I went there looking for the interest survey, and it took me a good 10 minutes to find it.
Oh, yeah.
I went away from it, and then I couldn't remember how to get back.
Yeah.
And I'm at the homepage going, okay.
Yeah, you definitely need somebody who knows who's been in it. If you don't play around with it before you try to go into a classroom.
Yeah.
And they also need something that allows the administration on the back end to go in and see passwords.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we can reset them, but it takes 24 hours to reset a password.
And that whole thing's gone, yeah.
And then you have nothing. Hey, y'all. And they look so happy.
I'd be like, I'm out of class.
Firing squad.
I know.
ECAP, I like the idea of it. Implementation of it is extremely difficult because high school teachers do not like to give up time. And to really do it well, you need considerable time. And I think that, it's really useful for kids who are tuned in toward wanting to help themselves, but kids who don't want to help themselves, it's sometimes hard to make it feel like it's useful. That's probably like the teacher's struggle too in
Right.
the classroom. I do like it, and I think it's valuable. But John and Jenna, because of time and number of students versus them, they're doing it in groups, and I don't like it. I'm supportive of it because I understand why we need to do it. It's just, Jenna's got nearly 200 kids. You give 20 minutes, and 20 minutes, goes pretty quick when you're talking about things to each kid, and it sucks all of your time.
Right.
But it needs to be done individually.
Yeah.
Just to really implement ECAP with the intention behind it, counselors can't do other things. Right? You get interrupted by someone who's got a mental health crisis, or or not even something significant, but it's like Johnny broke up with me and I can't move on to my next class, and you get interrupted by an email because you notice there's a student's name on it and that's not doing well, and you're like, oh, but they got concerned. Like, you got to know, like, you please give them a little bit of grace, right? So all these other things that take up time, ECAP doesn't. I mean, it's not forgiving of that if you really want to implement it well.
Yeah.
And on the high school level, getting parents to come in is the struggle. Parent involvement on the high school level is just a universal struggle.
I feel you. Like, all parents, your child is in school suspension. You come pick them up and they just leave them here. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. Well, part of that, Odyssey's never had a policy like that in place, and they're not used to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll be more accountable.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. This has been great. Great information.
I hope you can crank out a paper
for
some responses.
Yeah, no, this is great. Lots to write about, so that'll be good.
All
So
right.
I appreciate your time, and I'll be sure to share